All right, welcome everybody to this week's edition of Military Trailblazer Office Hours. Thanks as usual for taking your time, your Wednesday evening, to spend it here in the spirit of community mentorship and learning. I'm your host for the evening, Dave Albright. I'm a lead solution engineer, as some of you know, at Salesforce and Military Trailblazer. And as usual, each week we invite a co-host or co-host to take part in the conversation so we can leverage their experience, expertise, and unique perspectives. The focus for tonight's session is enhancing your Salesforce career with product management skills. A good topic, I think, is a lot of us coming out of the military tend to think about how that can play into making themselves marketable. So if you've ever been wondering how product management skills can help you perform better in the current role, this is a session for you. I'd like to introduce our co-host for tonight, Gloria Gordon. Gloria is a vice president at Omnivo Digital. She's been working in the Salesforce ecosystem since 2013 and has over 10 years of experience in product and project management. Leader of the Nashville Salesforce Admin Group, Gloria is passionate about building community, creating positive experiences, and helping others achieve their full potential. Gloria, it's great to have you co-hosting Office Hours with me, and welcome. Would you like to take a quick moment to introduce yourself further and share your Salesforce story?
Yeah, absolutely. So thank you guys so much for having me. I am super stoked to be here. Just as David said, I kind of wrote that bio for him. I think you got it from my LinkedIn bio, and then I edited it a little bit, but that's pretty much me, right? So I've been a project manager, product manager, and now I'm kind of in like a sales education role for the most part at my company, Omnivo Digital. We are a Salesforce consultancy. We're just 15 people strong. So think of us like you're really like your Navy SEALs. I don't know. I guess that's really applicable to you guys. I don't know if I'm saying the right term, but we're very focused, get in, get out. And that's what we do. We're experts in what we do. And we focus on pretty much all the clouds, the kind of table stakes clouds. And that's all. I guess you should know our MO at Omnivo, and what I kind of tell everybody is that we're MBAs who code. Not all of us are MBAs, but what that really means is we're business consultants first and foremost, and then we just happen to be Salesforce badasses. So that's the way I approach every problem. I look at it for like new people coming onto Salesforce, or just people doing strategic enhancements. I'm always looking at the business problem first and foremost, and then I slide in the tech, not the other way around. So it's a little bit about me.
Perfect, thank you. And so we're going to do it slightly different. I'll give the quick session purpose as we always do, and then Gloria is going to go into an actual presentation that she normally gives and routinely gives, and then we'll go into our questions. But as usual, go ahead and enter your questions as you see fit. I'm sure she'd be happy to have them. For those joining for the first time, I always like to briefly explain the purpose of these office hours before the opening the floor for questions or discussion. As many of you know, these sessions are informal get-togethers for gathering with military trailblazers and allies to explore non-technical Salesforce career and branding-related topics, help you achieve your professional developmental and career-related goals. Next hour is intended to be an opportunity to collaborative mentorship. Everyone on the call is encouraged to step up and help answer questions from your perspective, which will provide additional diversity of experience to the answers given. Please keep an eye on the chat window during tonight's sessions. I and others on the call will share a lot of great information there, including learning, networking, and employment opportunities. If you'd like to ask a question at any point during today's session, please feel free to do so. If you don't feel as comfortable speaking up, you can also post your questions in chat. I'll do my best to monitor the chat window and also be looking for raised hands. And finally, tonight's session is being recorded. If you'd like to share an attribution-free comment, please let me know before speaking, and I'll make sure it's edited out of the final recording. So with that, I'll turn it over to Gloria, and she can take over and give her presentation, and we'll go from there. Go ahead, Gloria.
Cool. Thank you again. So guys, I have a quick question. I want to survey the room. Who has experience in product management? Not project management, but product management. Anybody? All right, awesome. Do you say, is it how you pronounce your name, Elio? Am I saying that right? Elio?
Elio, yes, you got it.
Okay, perfect. Thanks. Great. We have one person with product management experience. Anybody else? Okay. That's perfect. I'm glad. My one product manager with experience, welcome. Feel free to jump in, one, at any time with information. And two, if you guys have any questions like throughout this quote unquote presentation, just you can interrupt me, say, because I won't be watching the chat bot thing. But yeah, just make it, I want this to be a conversation. I'm going to be going over some information, but then after, I think David has some really good questions to follow up with. So,
and
all right,
I'll keep
Ryan,
an eye on the chat for you, Gloria, and
Okay.
let you know if there's any questions. And it might be good for you, as a lot of people coming out of the military may not quite grasp the difference between product management and project management. If you want to start, if that's not cutting into your presentation.
No, it's actually not. So it's really
And don't
helpful to
forget
cover.
program management.
Bingo.
I can't
There's another
even.
one.
I'm not even gonna. Yeah, that's something. Well, okay. I'm gonna make this simple, high level, guys. We could have a whole hour just about the differences. So, project management is, I would say, it's very tactical and execution based. So you have, and it's kind of the same for every project. Like you have, and I'm a PMP, right? I'm a project management professional. I know what project management is, and that's again what I built my career off of. But I would say it's a lot more tactical than product management. Product management is more of a commercial position where you're looking at the market and then allowing that to determine your solution, rather than project. And even program management is more operationally, internally focused, and it's focused on execution. Does that make sense to everybody? And I'll go into product management and what that is in a minute as well.
Perfect. Thank you. I think that's a good overview, especially for those coming out.
Awesome. Okay, great question. Thanks, David. So I'll share my screen now. Okay, also, if you guys don't know what Canva is, it is a wonderful kind of slide deck creation tool that you can do all kinds of cool stuff. So that's what I use to present and create this deck. And this picture that you see was not, I didn't license it from Salesforce, so take that with a grain of salt. Anyways, the product manager's mindset. Welcome, guys. This is the key to building a Salesforce org that creates tangible business results, not just checking off things from a box. Love my project managers, but maybe that would be more project management focus. But we're here to create results that matter to the C-suite team, aka some of our bosses or some of our peers. A little bit about me, as we kind of already went over. I'm Gloria. I have an MBA in PMP. I have spent the past over 10 years working in product management, project management, and correspondingly Salesforce. I help run Omnivo. I already went over that with you guys. And I lead the Nashville admin group. And this is our cute little logo that I created on some website. But the Nashville admin group, we have like 250 people in our group, I think. And so we have these monthly meetups. If you're ever in the Nashville area, please stop by. And my passion, which is why I'm here today, is helping others achieve their full potential. So that goes, I'm in sales and education, right? I want businesses to achieve their full potential through leveraging the Salesforce platform. And I want you guys to achieve your full potential in whatever position that you have in the Salesforce ecosystem by using the product management mindset. So hopefully it helps you get there. And I took this picture at the top of the Salesforce Tower in San Francisco. So it was like a shining moment in my life, which is kind of sad.
Rub it in.
I know. I can't pass that one up. Okay, so first and foremost, why should you care about the product manager's mindset? Because using the product management mindset as a trailblazer, and I kind of put Trailblazer in there, like anybody in the Salesforce ecosystem can use it, you're going to be able to decrease your build time, decrease costs, increase your user satisfaction, which is especially helpful for you internal admins, because we all know how users are dissatisfied all of the time, and increase Salesforce's ROI for your company. So with all of those things being said, again, decreasing your build time, decreasing costs, increasing user satisfaction, and Salesforce's ROI for your company, I want to break down what I mean by product and what the heck is a product manager. So I kind of went over at a high level, but I'm going to really get into exactly what these things are. When I'm talking about products today, I'm talking about software as a service. Okay, you probably heard SaaS products. I mean, we all know that. We work in Salesforce, and Salesforce is one of the biggest SaaS companies in the world. I think it is the biggest. It is anything that is centrally hosted so that customers or businesses are going to use it online and pay a subscription for usually. An example of a product is Salesforce, Dropbox, G Suite, etc. But a product can be smaller products within a larger SaaS platform. So an example of this is you have Salesforce, which is a larger kind of SaaS product, but then Sales Cloud is actually considered its own own product and has its own product manager. And for our discussion today, consider Salesforce one of your company's SaaS products. So I work at ABC lotion distributor and I have Salesforce. Salesforce is actually one of my company's products because maybe I use it I leverage Commerce Cloud. I have Experience Cloud portals for my B2B clients, anything like that. It's a product that people interact with, both external customers and your internal customers, aka your users. And when I'm talking about product managers, a product manager is somebody who owns the strategy, development, release, and continuous innovation of their product. And I emphasize there because it's a one-to-one relationship, right? Every product, no matter a larger or kind of a sub-product, has a product manager. This person has deep knowledge of the customers, data, and the business because, again, as I mentioned earlier, a product is a really commercial thing. It's not something that you have a checklist for. It's you're constantly looking at data and evaluating what the market's doing and what your competitive advantage is and where you sit in the market so that you can further develop and continually innovate the SaaS product. Product managers are often and also known as CEOs of their software product. An example of this is Brett Taylor, RIP, and go entrepreneur in peace. And he was the co-CEO, obviously, of Salesforce. But did you guys know that Brett's first job ever was at a product manager at Google? And then before he became co-CEO of Salesforce, he was actually the chief product officer at Salesforce. So I think I like to bring up that example because I think it emphasizes just how commercial and strategic this role is. Literally, the co-CEO was in charge of product for Salesforce before he became co-CEO. Does this all kind of make sense to you guys so far? Any questions? I can't see your beautiful faces, so verbal cues are appreciated.
This is great, thank you.
Okay, awesome. And for the purpose of this presentation, you are the product manager of your company, Salesforce. So keep those last two bullet points in mind. For our discussion, Salesforce is one of your company's SaaS products, and you are the product manager of said SaaS product. Oh, yep, I always forget this slide exists. You are your company's Salesforce product manager. So why haven't we started thinking like one? Salesforce has done a kind of solid initiative in the past 12 months to get us to start thinking about product management and to think of like product managers. And I think after this presentation, you're going to understand why it is to their advantage for us to start thinking in this way, rather than, oh, we're admins and we're just focused on the executing tickets. And I can't wait to tell you and expand on that further. So during this presentation, now that we understand why it matters, why you should care, and what a product and product manager is, this presentation is really a 101 on product manager's mindset. To my product management people in the crowd, this is like grossly oversimplifying what product management is. People spend years and years and years getting to know the product management kind of philosophy and operational structure. So it is very much a 101, and there's a lot more to learn. But we're going to cover a few key things. One, understanding the product manager's mindset starts with understanding your company. So you got to understand your company's vision, strategy, and goals. Like I said, very commercial position, very kind of strategic position as well. The second thing is understanding your Salesforce. So after understanding your company's vision, strategy, and goals, you understand your Salesforce's strategy and goals and how they align with your company's. Then we approach the process of being a product manager and really kind of just some tips and tricks around that. And 4, product management is all about continuous innovation. So for the project managers in the crowd, you guys know agile project management, right? So it's all about kind of iterating really fast. That came from product management. That came from the people that were developing these softwares, and they needed to be able to sell it to people. So they had to find really fast ways of executing. And then it kind of floated down, and now it's becoming really popular in project management as well. So starting off, for your company, the vision, remember I said first thing and the baseline of understanding product manager's mindset is getting your vision, strategy, and goals. And for those of you who may have forgotten your business level 1 class in college, I have a quick overview. So your vision for your company is what an organization most hopes to achieve and be in the long term. This is looking out 5 to 10 years. Then we approach your strategy. This is the plan to achieve the company's vision. This gives the vision a direction and is a high level plan for actually creating it. And then, as you guys can guess, goals, statements of what needs to be done, needs to be accomplished in order to implement the strategy. And these are also known as kind of KPIs, OKRs. You'll hear those terms thrown around as well. So again, you have to, before you build a strategic platform for your company, to be strategic, you have to understand kind of what's larger, what else is there. And that means what your company is doing and what your company executives see as success, aka the strategy and the vision and achieving those goals. So then the second thing that we need to approach is your Salesforce. So how does your Salesforce vision, strategy, and goals support your company's strategy, vision, strategy, and goals? Because that's the only way you're going to be able to create a really, really valuable and kind of results-driven Salesforce that matters to your C-suite. And then I have a little guy, I don't know if you guys remember, somebody climbed the Salesforce Tower in May or something. So I homage to him. Okay, so what is your Salesforce vision, strategy, and goals? It's pretty similar to your company's. Your vision, the overarching goal you're aiming for, it's the reason, the catalyst for your CRM. It is going to be your North Star in everything that you do for your SaaS product. The strategy, again, plan for making the vision a reality. I like to say, more from a Trailblazer point of view, the strategy of your Salesforce org is how you're going to decide what problems to solve in Salesforce. There's a million different things for us to approach at any one time. So how do you decide, what's your strategy, and how does that approach and kind of support your vision? And that's how you're going to decide, okay, what 5 out of these 1,000 things that I can fix in Salesforce am I actually going to prioritize this quarter or this year? Then your goals, you kind of break that quarterly or yearly goal down or strategy down into specific goals to help you get there. With that being said, I wanted to go over what exactly and some examples of company and Salesforce alignment, just to bring it home. I have 2 kind of cooler examples for you guys. And again, stop me at any point if you guys get lost. But I wanted to give you a real world example of who's really doing this and how they're doing it really well. Okay, so first example is Bentley Motors. Bentley's vision is to create extraordinary journeys for their customers. This, again, is on their business side, their company side. Their strategy is they're going to do that by having bespoke craftsmanship, customization, and service at every turn. This is literally all from their website, and Salesforce has a case study about this. And then their goals to kind of achieve that strategy are, they're very revenue specific. They had CSAT scores, aka hence the service, and they had a goal of having all cars hybrid or electric by 2026. Okay, so that's the company stuff. Now as a Salesforce product manager, which can be an admin, it can be a consultant, it can be a developer, an architect, any one of those things, anybody can adopt the product management mindset to help create a more strategic org. So let's see what their Salesforce team thought of. Their vision, it's going to be the same a lot of times, right? It's for the Salesforce and for the actual company, it's to create extraordinary journeys for their customers. I guess I couldn't decide if that had an apostrophe S or not, so sorry. Then their strategy is to leverage the Salesforce's Customer 360 platform to focus on customer experience. Everybody says, kind of gives lip service, I'm going to leverage the the customer 360 platform, but their main goal was to say customer experience is our main goal with using all of these clouds. So their goals, their Salesforce team goals, they wanted to integrate for ultimate visibility into the customer, which supports the service that you see in the strategy. They want to build a single view of the customer, again, that service point. They want to optimize sales and service interactions. I'm not even going to say it, I'm supporting the service. Personalized customer journeys, that bespoke craftsmanship perhaps could be supported there. And then create a new category of sustainable luxury. So as you can see, this is really, really key as you're kind of creating your own company Salesforce vision, strategy, and goals, is that your goals are also supporting your company strategy. That's how you know this is going to be really effective, right? Your Salesforce goals are related to your company strategy. So at the end of the year, when your CEO is kind of saying, hey, why should we keep paying $80,000 for my Salesforce admin? You can say, well, he or she is building and executing on all these goals that is moving the needle for our company strategy. Like, what are they going to say to that? If you're able to say, we've increased customer visibility by tenfold, and that supports our strategy of bespoke service, that's like a no-brainer for the CEO to understand the value of Salesforce and have it not just be another cost center tech platform. I've had that discussion a lot with CEOs, especially me being a Salesforce admin in the past. Them being like, why should we spend money on this? And not having the verbiage and the map to kind of explain why Salesforce matters to this extremely commercial person who's so removed from the actual like benefits of the platform day to day. It really, really helps. Another example, kind of last example that I want to go through is RBC Wealth Management. RBC is the Royal Bank of Canada, and they're one of the top banks as far as customer service goes, white glove service. They're just known kind of across the banking world as providing exceptional service and being just an exceptional bank. They have a wealth management arm that decided to go with Salesforce, so let's check it out. The wealth management team, their vision is to be among the world's most trusted and successful financial institutions. That's great. Again, that's their 5 to 10 year kind of vision there. Their strategy for doing that, how they're going to achieve that vision, is to leverage new technologies, create an exceptional digital client experience, and reimagine the role they play in clients' lives. Their goals for that are to be the preferred partner to corporate, institutional, and high net worth clients and their businesses. So that's how they knew they achieve these goals, they're going to be achieving their strategy along the way. So for their Salesforce, all right, who can tell me what their vision is? Yes.
To be among the world's most trusted and successful financial institutions.
Heck yeah. I think that was David. Thanks for being an engaged viewer, David. So yes, that's the vision for their Salesforce. Again, as David caught on, these two things are almost always the same. I don't even know how to give you an example of a time when the Salesforce vision isn't the same. But moving on, the strategy is in Salesforce, they want to give employees a 360-degree view of every client. They are going to streamline their processes to deliver personalized experiences and empower the IT team. I think that last part is pretty cool that they decided to empower the IT team, and they knew that that would support the corresponding strategy on the business side of leveraging new technologies, creating that exceptional digital client experience.
Yeah, we'll actually come back to that when you're done with your presentation, because empowering the IT team is not something I routinely see in pre-sales.
Yeah. The goals to execute on that strategy, they wanted to integrate 26 platforms. I'm a consultant and I see this and I'm like, dang, I wish I was on the consultant team that got this like statement of work. But anyways, I digress. 26 different platforms. It's a lot of mapping to be done. They wanted to build a single view of the customer. Makes sense. Simplify client onboarding, provide the team with deep insights, and hire the best advisors and build culture. So as we can see, again, these goals all relate to their business strategy. Okay, those are my 2 examples. Do you guys have any questions so far about kind of Salesforce and company alignment and how to map that?
We've had one question. I think you're going to cover it. Is product owner versus product manager.
Yes. So the product owner, and I'll answer that real quick, but the product owner is more of they execute the product manager's vision. They're more of like boots on the ground, just like you have a CEO and some like business line leaders. You have the product manager who's really making sure, are we building the right things? Do we have the right things kind of set on our roadmap? And the product owner is really in the day-to-day with the Scrum team, et cetera, kind of executing. They can be one and the same, sure, but in a traditional kind of SaaS company landscape, you have the product manager who's kind of a lot higher level. And then you have the product owner who's really executing, but still keeping in mind all the product management kind of best practices and iterating really fast and learning from the data that's coming in.
Gotcha. And I think that is a great answer. So are you seeing a product manager and product owner in most companies, or are there certain size organizations where you're starting to see this?
Are you talking about internal to the Salesforce ecosystem or at companies that are my clients?
Probably both.
I think that the consultant should be the product manager. They should have and that's why I say this is a mindset, right? I'm not saying this is a position that should exist at every consultancy or in every internal Salesforce org. I'm saying that we all have to adopt this mindset if we want to stay competitive in the job market, if we want to keep producing results for our companies and kind of increasing our Salesforce budget so we can do a lot more fun things. Does that answer your question? I guess I'm not saying I see this in orgs necessarily, unless it's a software company.
I think that's actually a really good point. And I think a lot of us on here, especially the folks coming through Hiring Our Heroes and getting hired on into consultancies and SI teams, that is a really good perspective that you just gave, right? It's a paradigm of how you view yourself, right? You are the evangelist for the product, because if you don't, you may watch that line of business dry up, right?
Yeah.
Like you have to sell the value of what you're consulting on.
And I wouldn't even say you're an evangelist of the product, but you're an evangelist of your company, gosh darn strategy. Like that's what you should be passionate about, is how am I going to leverage this tech to achieve this, like my company's vision, which is my North Star. And that's what we all have to be really focused on. We can't be like disjointed in our own little silo, just executing tech and like being what's called ticket mercenaries. I think I have a slide on the next, I have part of that on the next slide, whatever. But it's breaking out of your silo. It's becoming a strategic resource for your company and not somebody they see as in their IT team or, oh, they don't know about the business because they're just in Salesforce.
Yeah, no, I think that's an excellent, and thank you for clarifying that. That's a better way of putting it. You need to really make sure that the product is answering the goals of the company.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, and someone just asked a question, David Freeman there, where do consultants fit with product managers and product owners? And you just kind of answered that, so excellent.
Okay, I'm gonna go to the next slide, and those questions were a really good segue to this. For you guys that don't know, Marty Kagan is the OG product manager. He's like the godfather of Silicon Valley. And he wrote a lot of books that I'm gonna recommend at the end of this. But he said, good teams have a compelling product vision that they pursue with missionary-like passion. Bad teams are mercenaries. And what he's trying to say there is that we're pursuing our company vision through this tech. David, just like I was saying earlier, we're not just getting tickets in from our business users and executing them. Because quite frankly, business users don't know shit. They like think they understand the business, but like really they don't understand the business and they don't understand Salesforce And it just makes for like a whole bunch of wasted time and kind of frustration on the C-suite level because we haven't actually achieved anything. We've just made a few people happy, a few stakeholders happy, but it's up to us to say, no, I'm not just a ticket mercenary. I'm not just going to go out and execute these tickets. I'm going to focus on what's actually important to the business. And I'll go over some hurdles to doing that in a couple of slides because I know it's not as easy. I'm kind of like a very ambitious person and I get everybody to make a lot of changes, but I do understand that that's not always easy in a company.
No, I think that's a really good point though, right? The ticket mercenary there, and you need to look at what tickets are being requested, right? What is being requested of the admin? What is requested of the software? And look if that is nested within the company goals, right? Does it match? Otherwise, what are we taking time on it? If we have no other work, then sure, let's take care of these other things. But yeah, I think that's a really good point.
Okay, I'm going to move on to the kind of second part of this presentation, which is hitting on those execution and continuous innovation parts. So how do you actually build your strategic engine? You have this vision, strategy, and all these goals that are really fun to create in Salesforce, but how are you going to kind of execute on that? First thing I suggest is that you perform discovery. You can do this by shadowing, interviewing, investigating, but whatever you have to do to validate what you think is the right thing to build in Salesforce, and you never assume. I know some of us, I have been on projects where I've been a ticket mercenary before, right? I meet with a business user, they tell me this whole little feature in Salesforce would be really helpful for them. Maybe like a sales process with all these pinging and pongings going on to loop in other business units. But then I actually build it and the business has no use for it and it doesn't actually make sense and nothing, like I did that classic waterfall project methodology, right? I got all the requirements at the beginning. I said, bye-bye stakeholder. I'll contact you when it's time to test the entire system. This was like 5 years ago, cut me some slack. And then it went live and nobody used it. Nobody thought it was useful at all. So performing discovery means right when you have the idea, you're not even building anything in Salesforce. You are literally going to go shadow that team member, validate what they told you, because again, stakeholders don't really know what they're talking about. So you want to validate and never assume anything before you build it in Salesforce. Even if it's the smallest little thing, you can interview somebody, interview 5 people on your team, interview 3 people on your team. You can go investigate it yourself or just do some shadowing. That's kind of my favorite thing to do when I'm approaching a big project, is just to go sit behind the desk or you have a Teams meeting where you're just sharing the screen kind of for a couple of hours, watching them do their job. The next part of it, and this is happening really, really fast, right? Discovery, build, measure, learning, and then repeating. Then you're going to the whole build, measure, learn loop. The smaller experiments, the better. So once you perform discovery, let's say you validate that this portal is a really good idea to build, then you're going to build it, but you're going to build the smallest possible version and the lightest possible version of it to validate your kind of assumptions there. So what I mean by that is, okay, so I think that one of my company's goals is to have a better onboarding experience. So one of my ideas as a consultant, product manager, admin, whatever you want to call it, is to build a portal for those people to be able to kind of apply to our company, have a whole like portal experience for the application process. I do discovery. Maybe I call in some past applicants. I ask them, hey, do you think this would be helpful for you? I shadow the HR manager, watch all the back and forth emails that he or she has to send. So I've validated that. That's good. 2 thumbs up. But then what's the smallest possible thing that I can build to kind of confirm that assumption in the real world? I can do something as easy as calling 3 new applicants and showing them like a wireframe on a process mapping board, like something like Miro or whatever other boards exist, and saying like, how would you use this? Essentially like asking them to walk me through how they would approach using this kind of portal site And hey, do you think this would be useful for you? Or is there anything else that you would find useful? If you don't want to go and kind of give $10 Starbucks gift cards to random applicants, that's totally fine. I get it. But you can do that with your internal team, your HR managers as well.
So are you kind of talking about mocking something before you even get into any kind of build? No MVP, or just seeing if you can get feedback right off the bat?
Exactly. The whole point of this, guys, is to spend the least amount of time possible validating your assumptions and the least amount of money, right? I don't want to go and build a wireframe in Salesforce, even if it just takes me an hour. That's still an hour of your time, right? I'm going to build a wireframe I'm going to draft something up, mock something up, and then test that. And then the more positive kind of feedback that I get, then I'll start spending more time on it. But if people don't think it's useful, if my customers, aka in this instance, my applicants or my HR team doesn't think it's useful, then why am I going to spend my time on it? I'm going to go find something else that contributes to that strategic goal of having the best employee and applicant experience. And it's okay. I think ego has to go out the window when you're a product manager.
No, I think that's a good point, especially for this group who's, coming into the ecosystem. A lot of people coming from the military, where you can throw manpower at a situation and not bat an eye about the cost of that. Whereas now, as you come into consulting, or you come into the ecosystem, admin, developer, whatever, there is a definite dollar cost to your time. And it's every minute, right? And so if you're out here building something, even if something is putting a custom field on there and seeing if it works, if it's not something of value, it's a complete utter waste of time that you could be doing something much more valuable.
Yep, exactly. There has to be a kind of a commercial use case to everything that you're doing, and be able to make that case to whomever your bosses or peers are. So I'm still on the second kind of build, measure, learn bullet point here. You've built this mock-up. The measuring part can be as easy as the person or the people that you're interviewing saying yes or no, this would be useful, right? That can be, or it can be something like you get a little farther down the line, you're measuring, you have a portal built, and maybe you do an A/B test and you split half of your applicants into the old system for applying, half of your applicants into the new system. You see in your new system, you're kind of just doing these small little experiments within it, but you're measuring literally how many clicks to this link, how many people stay on this page for X amount of time, whatever it is that you can measure. Let's say I'm thinking of Experience Cloud in my mind, but whatever you can measure, you're going to measure. And the learning part from that comes from how are you going to take those measurements and those data points and apply it to your next version. So whether it's changing a color, adding a new button, making a button bigger, really, whatever it is, you're applying that learning and not just kind of keeping it in the back of your head and not doing anything with it.
So really, you're almost giving a value sell on what you've created.
Yeah, exactly. And you're putting it in front of people as soon as possible and as much as possible so that your idea can get better.
Right. Plant the seed and see if you can grow it.
Yeah, exactly. And the growth comes from the watering is user metrics, essentially, and kind of that user experience. So the idea is to do as many little experiments as you can and to get as much feedback as soon as possible throughout really discovery, build, measure, learn, and then repeating it, which is kind of repeating what I've already said. And then never stop learning and seeking improvement. So even after you've gone live with a product, it is your responsibility to anything that's contributing to your company strategy. You want to keep on innovating on it. And how can you make that better? How can you keep moving the needle forward? Amazing. Okay, I chose the corniest photo stock images I could. So I hope you guys enjoy this little scientist. For execution and continuous innovation, kind of the next step here, you have your idea, you validated it, that's wonderful. But then how are we going to actually execute and kind of form our teams around this methodology, this new paradigm that we're adopting? I like to recommend, and this is totally up to you guys, the SCRUM framework. It's really the most common ways that product managers operate. And the SCRUM framework is really just a 2 to 4 week, what they call sprints, which is essentially mini projects. I guess if you can put it, if a lot of you have project management backgrounds, 2 to 4 weeks, mini projects where you're collaborating with a small focused team to solve bits of the business problem at a time. So you don't even have to have like set results within this sprint, but the idea is that you're solving the business problem at large a little bit at a time. Then we have continuous innovation kind of on top of that. Once you, by the way, going back to the Scrum framework, there are literally like books and courses upon courses about the Scrum framework. So if you want to find out more about that, there's a plethora of 3 online blogs that you can go read tonight, or YouTube videos if you like that a little better. Going to the continuous innovation part is really, I just have a couple of quotes here, which I guess is helpful in some way. But the desire to delight the customer is beyond measure. Like that is your main goal, because your customers, whether they're internal or external, are in making them happy in a strategic way. That's really what your goal is, really. Even if you're an admin or a product manager, tomato, tomato in that sense, you're there for your customer. It's a service role. Customers will always be wonderfully dissatisfied with that in mind. And then even if they don't know it, they want something better. So just keep those few things in mind. I see there's a question that just came through about the best practice for choosing deliverables once they are in user stories, once user stories are in the backlog.
Good question. There's an agile one right there, right? Somebody's working in sprints.
Yeah, exactly. I would say Google that. That's not something that I had. There's like, just like there is a lot of information on the Scrum framework, there's a lot of methodologies for choosing how to approach your backlog, like a lot. So there's, just Google it, and then there's going to be like top 5 ways to figure out what to solve in your backlog. And then you choose what's best for you and your business.
Yeah, I think
like
some
I said,
of the ways
guys,
I've seen is value or work available, right? What's the work effect on that? How much work are we gonna have to put to get X done? And go from there.
So like I said, there are going to be a lot of potential hurdles for getting your company to adopt this paradigm shift, or even like your team to adopt this paradigm shift. The first one is you kind of saying, well, I'm not a decision maker. How am I going to do this and create all this change in a strategic Salesforce org if I have no real autonomy? But if you think your boss isn't going to let you do that, then start small and do an experiment to prove value. Just like you're doing in Build, Measure, Learn, start small with whatever kind of mini project that they will give you autonomy for. Adopt the product management mindset and really prove to him or her that this can work for solving problems, whether they're big or small. And I think I think overall with these hurdles, it's a journey, and it's not something you can turn on or off or send a YouTube video to somebody to watch and change their mind if they're stuck in more of the bureaucratic way of operating. But I do encourage you to just really start small and don't give up in trying to change that person's mind. A lot of times the product management mindset doesn't work because there's just too many departments. One of my favorite things that I've done is so I'm in sales at a company and I want to make a change and really change this like idea and way we're thinking about Salesforce. I'll go get with a customer service peer. I'll talk to an operations peer, get somebody in IT, and form a kind of a cross-departmental product management squad to see what we can do and what we can all work around and kind of create, given maybe we're not all autonomous, but how much change can we create together? So that's something that I would kind of highlight there. And then bureaucracy, kind of similar to not a decision maker. It's all about being slow and steady. Start small, gather results, and grow from there. You're not going to immediately, like, you listen to this presentation in 2023, you go to your executive team and say, like, hey, I think we should reevaluate how we're looking at solving all these problems in Salesforce next year. And we should build all of these portals and all of this function. And let's get CPQ because it will support our strategy. It's not always going to happen that way. So again, start small, slow and steady, and gather results and grow from there. But you always have to be concentrated on what are the results I'm going to get through this slow and steady process, because then I'm going to make my commercial and strategic case to whoever the decision lies with. All right, I'm going to recap. The 6 steps to utilizing the PMM, which I've coined. I have not trademarked that yet, though. Number 1, investigate company vision, strategy, and goals. Number 2, create corresponding vision, strategy, and goals for your Salesforce, right? With Bentley and RBC Wealth Management, we saw that. 3 is to perform your discovery. And then once you know what direction you're going to go in, you're going to build, measure, and learn, right? Because you've already validated your assumptions, which you're constantly doing. Then when building, implement the SCRUM framework, just some pro advice. And 6, take some small steps, because you're always going to have hurdles. And it's just like when you're building, you build small, and that's what you're going to do to overcome those hurdles if they exist in your organization. A whole resource list for you guys. Pretty much every slide that I went over has like a book and books and books about the information within, including the product management backlog, which David, I think you were the person who asked. But I have this split up between foundations and then each part of the product management mindset for you guys to dig into. One of my favorite and kind of core learnings that I kicked off my product management career with is the lean startup, which I think it's lean startup principles here. And then it is, where are we? Oh, sorry, it's right here, the foundations. So definitely start with these foundations. The Lean Startup by Eric Rice, and then Inspired, How to Build Tech Products or Salesforce Orgs That Customers Love. And it's by not Mary Kagan, and that is supposed to be Marty Kagan. So I'll send this list to you guys, and these are all kind of links in here, take you directly to the Amazon page for you to check out. Cool. That's all. You can hit me up anytime if you have questions about how to approach the product management mindset. You can find me on LinkedIn. And yeah, I would love to talk to you guys about any hurdles and inspire you to break through the ceiling. I don't know what ceiling it is, but it's a product management ceiling.
Oh,
Okay,
that's
thanks,
awesome.
guys.
That's a great overview of it. And especially for the crowd we have here that usually joins us, kind of new to the ecosystem or getting into the ecosystem and understanding how these concepts all play together, right? I remember when I pivoted into this and was trying to figure out, I spent a lot of time Googling Agile and Lean and, what's a sprint? What's a user story? And I've talked about it here before when I host. There's just a lot to learn, especially when you're pivoting from the military, which does not, I think the military, as we work with them here on the Salesforce side and pre-sales, they're starting to get into Agile, now knowing that is the way forward, but they're used to waterfall, right? And so Agile is completely foreign concept, and understanding how a Lean Six or a Lean methodology works and how to implement that. So, oh, thank you, Amber. Yep, I was just going to do that. It's the midpoint. It's actually long past the midpoint, but that's okay. We'll do the group photo here. No, don't worry about it. You're fine. Your job is to present, and my job is to manage the chaos as usual, right? So, important part of branding, as Dave always says, Dave Nava, I'll plan to post this on LinkedIn and Twitter tomorrow. We'll tag everyone in the photo. If you only have your first name on there in Google Meet, go ahead and add it into the chat. We'll grab that. And everyone that wants to participate in the photo, please unmute your video, and I'll grab a screenshot. Man, I can't speak today. It's been a long day. All right. I'll give you a 3, 2, 1. Put your best smiles on. I'm usually looking up at the camera. At last week, I think I had a really bad squunched face. So see if I can do slightly better today.
Everybody say product management.
Go.
Okay, maybe. I don't know. If you guys like that.
Oh, see, now I've got, you made me laugh, and now I've got this horrible one. So another bad photo for me. All right.
You guys, thank you so much for letting me present. I appreciate it. I know that's kind of off from your normal structure, so thanks for sticking with me throughout that presentation.
Oh, no worries. I think that's a great overview because, and let's talk about this. And from your perspective, you have a PMP. Most folks coming out of the military, and this is a lot of kind of who we talk to on office hours here, you know, this will probably make a bunch of people chuckle as we say it, but like everyone's like, get your PMP. If you get out with the PMP, you're going to get like six-figure job right off the bat. Any thoughts on that?
Yeah, the PMP definitely allowed me to make like a $30,000 salary jump, to be like very frank with you. And I was in my like early 20s ish when I did that. So it was extremely helpful. I suggest that everybody gets their PMP because it's, I don't know if this is okay to say, but it's easy money. Yeah, sure, you got to study for a bit, but it's such a great resume builder. And no matter, like, even on product management roles that they set, like put out, if you go on LinkedIn and look at them, they'll say PMP preferred. Like, it is the foundation, and it's kind of a check for people to say, okay, can this person manage like a lot of things at once, and can they take a really hard test and kind of match up to the gold standard in the industry for managing a lot of things at once and a lot of chaos. And so I would say that is still like tried and true and going to be your foundation. I actually got hired at my first product management role because I had my PMP. It like opened the door for me. So I love it.
Yeah, and Amber just put on there, mill community can get their PMP covered. And I think that is happening a lot more, especially as recruiting. I know from the Coast Guard in particular, they're starting to pay for a lot of that stuff because they're having, so many issues with recruiting and retention. So they're looking at kind of helping keep that. And plus, it kind of works back in their favor, right? If they can get someone a PMP, that can help the organization internally if they have that. So,
and so real quick, something I would say on that, it's like everybody having their college degree or everybody having their admin cert. It's like when everybody has it, there's no real differentiation behind it. So what are you going to do with that? And how are you really going to apply that strategically? Again, it's not just about having your admin cert, it's what you've done with it and what you can do with it. And just like the PMP. So just keep that in mind, like never get comfortable with where you are and with your certs and how you're applying them. Like always search for a way to differentiate yourself from your competitors, which are kind of your peers and other people applying to a job.
Yeah, I agree. And last week, Gloria, you weren't here, but last week we really kind of talked about some of the things going on in IT right now with layoffs and things like that. And, what to do if you've got some unexpected time off, right? And get PMPs, get certs, make yourself marketable, right? Because as the ecosystem dries up slightly, it's important to kind of make yourself stand out a little bit, and things like PMP can help. David Freeman brings in, how does CSM fit into that? I managed a crap ton of projects, but went for the CSM cert.
I'd say the CSM is a lot more similar to the product owner. So it can support your kind of like foundational, and I don't know, I'm kind of thinking the product management route, but the PMP, I think the PMP is more applicable than the CSM across the board. And then the CSM is like a nice to have. It's like you get your PMP and then your CSM to add some like cherry and sprinkles on top, is the way I see it. And I could very well, it's just from my experience in the ecosystem.
Interesting. Yeah, I've never really thought of the CSM. I don't have a PMP. It was, I probably should have, because my last job was about 5 years of acquisitions. You would think I would have gotten that, but probably got a little lazy as I was getting ready to get out of the military and thinking I was going to go fly for the airlines for the rest of my life. Elio, I had a comment for you if you're on there, looking at like a success manager from Salesforce perspective and how that kind of differs with a product manager. Any thoughts on that, Gloria or Elio?
We actually have product managers. Success management at Salesforce is completely different than what was described as Gloria mentioned it.
I think he means certified SCRUM Manager. Am I wrong here? I just want to make sure we're talking about the right position. I was talking
No,
about
Yeah.
certified Scrum management.
Yeah,
you
it's
are correct.
certified Scrum Master.
Okay,
Okay,
yeah.
Yeah, I was actually kind of tying into some stuff you said in the presentation where I was like, there's a little bit of similarity there with a success manager and how we kind of look at it and making sure that product is being utilized and making sure it fits the company's goal. And I just want to hear if Elio had thoughts on that.
I mean, there's some overlap with regards to your last few comments with the CSM role. I think what Gloria is referring to is something that's within an org, right? You're managing expectations within a client. A success
Is that a
manager at
question to me?
Salesforce has impact on a client who's using our product. Does that make sense?
Yeah, and I was just thinking it was somewhat similar in terms of a consultant, and I might be off key here. It's been a long day, but you know, making sure that that product is meeting the company's goals.
David, your question, I'm just curious. David Freeman, can you train up on being customer facing rather than business internal?
So I asked that because I went for the certified Scrum Master because I'm very good at talking technical to other technical people that are internal to the business already. But I cannot, I don't have the imagination to really sell a solution to an outside person, like the business to business sales I can do, because I know I'm selling to another person's IT department. But like end user B2C kind of stuff is, well, do I have a catchphrase for you? Do I have this thing that's going to make you click these buttons? Do I have this creativity that's going to say, you need to do this now without saying you need to do this now? So how do I master being indirectly direct? Does that make sense?
Yes, it does. I think there's two things for you. One, there's a subreddit called Explain It Like I'm 5. I think reading up on that will give you a lot of good ways to kind of understand how to explain things to, because I mean, a lot of stakeholders and business users, you do have to explain it seemingly like they're 5. No foul on them. And then the second thing, I always kind of for soft skill foundations and how to influence, and I would say education versus sales. And I think that mindset shift may help you kind of as you're explaining education versus sales. But how to win friends and influence people is such a powerful, it's not as manipulative as it seems, a really, really, really great book to have in your toolkit on how to influence, aka educate and sell and all of that stuff, whether internal or external users and stakeholders just on the platform in a really nice diplomatic way.
Okay. Yeah, I only asked that question because I'm kind of transitioning from being internal IT to trying to be more analyst and customer facing. So what I get a lot is being direct is always too direct. And then what I'm finding out is the goal is always to be more persuasive than like and then hope for the best, right?
Yeah.
Because no matter how good of the information you give the end user or the customer, it is ultimately their decision on whether they're going to use your services or not. So how do I transform my skill set into something that can have that outside perspective or business perspective, but still sell the product in the end?
I would look at those two resources that I kind of mentioned, and then you can message me on LinkedIn. We can like take this offline. I know we're getting to the end of the meeting, but I would love to talk to you more about that.
Awesome. Thank you.
Yeah, and that's a great point. Like what Dave Nava and I do with being a solution engineer, you know, we're always looking, and when we go through our initial training and our onboarding, we're always looking at the value. So what, who cares? So when we look at things, when we describe things to a customer, it's always, what is the value? Why is this important to you? And that's probably a good thing to think about from your perspective, Dave, as you talk to customers, as you move towards the customer side, right? You're breaking it down to to a low level, but why is it important to them? Why is this button over here matter to them? Because they don't care about the technical background behind it. They don't care about what it does. All they care about is what does it provide them? Why is it important? You're saving time, you're saving money, you're saving effort. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Yeah, and as Amber said, I was thinking the same thing. Great job being self-aware, right? And knowing how you present and what you're good at. And with that, you either teach yourself how to do it better, or have the knowledge to say, nope, this isn't for me. I actually want to stay on the tech side. I want to stay on the Scrum Master. So that'd be my thoughts. We have reached the top of the hour. I'd like to actually take the time to thank Gloria for co-hosting tonight's session. Been awesome having you here. Thank you for the presentation. Thank you for being the evangelist of the product manager and the product owner, and giving us perspective on this, because this is actually not something we've really talked about here on the show. So I'd like to take the time to say thank you for it.
Yeah, of course. Thank you guys. I'm sure you're going to be hearing a lot more from Salesforce about it. I think they're finally catching on, probably because of my presentations, but I won't take all the credit.
Absolutely. I believe Mark Benioff actually was looking at it earlier today.
Yeah, I saw he viewed my LinkedIn profile.
Oh, yeah?
That was a joke.
And
Yeah.
Brett Taylor probably is not happy about the RIP comment, but we'll let that one go. But with
I put that in there
you.
right before this meeting, and I was like, I don't know.
Let's see how this goes. With that, thank you all for attending. Hope to see you next week, and have a great Wednesday night.
Thank you, guys. Bye, David. See ya.
Thank you.
Bye.